Peace, family. It's your brother Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. We're here tonight, getting a late start. Normally, I do these in the morning, but it's been a crazy, crazy day of work and travel. But I want to make sure we cover, as we always do, the latest on Israel's war on Gaza. Make sure you drop in your location. It's late, but I still want to know where y'all coming from. Drop your city, drop your state, drop your country. Let me know where you're coming in from so that we can know who's in our global community. Shout out to everybody who's there as we cover what the mainstream media refuses to, as we get involved in the issues that are going on in the world, challenging corporate media's perspective of it all. We got Anashatra B from California. We got MX Samael sending love from VA. Shout out to you, Ruby in Michigan. John from Orlando, Florida. Fantomas Fanto from Maine. London Harris Elzine in Los Angeles. Talilala from Santa Cruz. Paul M from Toronto. Rose Ability from Oaktown. You know what I mean? So many people writing in. Appreciate all y'all. Those are members of the channel. Got to give y'all an extra special shout out as well. Michelle in Wash in Denver, Tamara Hannah in Melbourne, Australia. So I'm saying we got family all around the world. I said Rosability in Oakland. So much love to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. You too, Coach out in Texas. You too, Test Pilot in NYC. You too, Chris Smith in Fort Worth, Texas. We're gonna get started, y'all. We got to talk about these latest developments that are going on in Gaza right now. Let's start off in the West Bank. A lot of times we start off with the big numbers, but I want to start off in the West Bank today. Israeli special forces dressed as doctors and nurses killed 3 Palestinians inside of Ibn Sina Hospital in Jenin, in the occupied West Bank on Tuesday. This is an interesting thing, right? Because if you remember correctly, for the last month, the last 3 months, the last a gajillion years, the argument has been that Hamas is out here dressing up like civil society. They're dressed like hospital workers. They are hospital workers and doctors and lawyers and police. And they're all these things, but really they're secret Hamas agents. That's the argument, right? And then to find out that Israeli special forces are the ones dressed as doctors and nurses, and they're inside of hospitals killing people. Now, the Israeli army said the targeted Palestinians were members of armed groups. Of course, they say we were dressed as doctors and nurses, but we were killing uh, the bad guys. That remains to be seen. You know, I've spent enough time in the region, and I've seen the Musta'arabin and other people who will look a certain way and dress a certain way and pretend to be a certain thing, and they're really infiltrating and causing problems. So again, I don't have any final answers because I don't know. I always like to get an investigation before I make a decision, unlike the U.S. with UNRWA. But I'm just talking about how it look right now, Shadi. El Farouk Masjid or El Farouk Mosque in Khan Yunis refugee camp was bombed with heavy gunfire ongoing. During ongoing raids in the Nur Shams and Tulkarm refugee camps, Israeli forces bulldozed roads, water, telecommunication, and electricity lines. All of it went down inside of Tulkarm and Nur Shams. Uh, this is not uncommon, but to see the road, the water, the telecommunications, and the electricity bulldozed at this moment could amount to a crisis that's usually manageable, though awful. It may become unmanageable if people are completely disconnected from their friends and family. They're completely disconnected from water lines and water routes at this juncture. So it'll be interesting to see. Nur Shams and Turkaram are both important, long-standing refugee camps. Turkaram is a refugee camp that is supported by UNRWA, that has descendants from, I believe, Wadi El Hawadith, which was one of the villages that was depopulated inside of 48, inside of Israel, uh, between 1947 and 19 between late 1947 and early 1948. Anyway, let's keep going. 5 Palestinians arrested by the Israeli military during a raid on Jenin said on Monday, or they were arrested on Monday. They say that they were tortured in custody. 5 Palestinians arrested by the Israeli military during a raid in Jenin said they were tortured in custody. Again, this is important. One of the arguments that the Israeli military has made, that the Israeli government has made, is that they are the moral army. And their Supreme Court has a precedent on torture. And so they have stood up before the global community and decried torture as a moral transgression, as a problem fundamentally. The state has said all the right things. And look, there's a lot of states that don't say that, including the United States. You know, they'd be like, they will rock with some torture. But the Israeli government has said something different. And so to hear this allegation, it's one that we have to take seriously. It's one that we have to think about. It's one that we have to, again, investigate. All right, let's move on to the strikes in Gaza. Israeli jets targeted a family's house in Sabra, which is a neighborhood in Gaza City. 20 civilians were killed and several others were injured. 20 civilians killed after blowing up a house. Again, they're going to say Hamas was in the house. But at the end of the day, if you're killing 20 civilians, you know, we have to ask questions about precision and ethics and purity of arms and restraint, right? These are all tropes and narratives of the Israeli military. It doesn't seem to be playing out though. All right. According to WAFA, which is an important news agency in Palestine, dozens of women and children have fled an UNRWA shelter in Gaza City after it was raided by Israeli forces on Tuesday. The women and children are now in Al Ahli Arab Hospital. Now, what's interesting about Al Ahli is, if you remember correctly, Al Ahli in the first month was getting bombed. It was getting destroyed. It was getting just torn apart. In fact, at the same time, the Al Shifa hospital was under attack. So was Al Ahli. And now it's become a shelter again. I don't know how much of a hospital it is, but it's certainly a shelter right now. Dozens of women and children. Dozens of women and children. Every hour, 2 mothers. Every hour, 2 mothers are killed. You know what kind of a number that is? Every single hour, 2 mothers are killed in Gaza. That's about, women and children account for 70% of the people killed in Gaza. And we're still not talking genocide? We're still not talking genocide? How? How? جفا شكرا انا مش فلسطيني حبيبي بس انا بدعم المقاومه انا بدعم الحركه انا بدعم كل شيء فلسطيني هلا. Bullet the Bunny, with all the aid trucks lined up at the Rafah crossing, are they vulnerable to attack? Seems like the mistake Russia made 2 years ago. It's an interesting question. One of the developments, to your point, has been greater attempts through Qatar, through Egypt, and to some extent the United States to get those convoys in, to get support through, to get help to those people at the Rafah crossing as well as the Kerem Shalom crossing. In both cases, the issue has less been that the caravans and the trucks and such have been bombed, although they are vulnerable to attack. Your point is well taken, and you are correct. But that they're simply being obstructed, that they're not letting them in, that they're not letting them not letting them get to the people. In fact, I think only 6 or 7 out of like 20 plus have been successful. The others were turned around. They weren't blown up or destroyed. They just were turned around. So while your point is correct, there is a more immediate and much simpler thing, is they just not letting them in, which is crazy, which is absolutely crazy. Yeah, let's keep rocking though. I'm taking questions because they're directly connected to the updates. Jeffaholic says, do you think we could be prosecuted for donating to UNRWA? It is not illegal to donate to UNRWA. There's no reason that you cannot donate to UNRWA. If UNRWA were to suddenly be designated as a terrorist organization, then you could experience problems. Um, but as of now, there's no law that says that. It's simply the U.S. saying we're not giving aid as a state because of an investigation. There's yet to even be a finding, so it shouldn't be an issue. It shouldn't be an issue. Um, the Palestinian. I'm sorry. Let's. I don't want to skip over something. Batan Samin, which is a funny name for a place. Batan Samin. Batan means stomach, and Samin is like a fat person. Batan Samin area and Al Amal area in Khan Yunis has been shelled by Israeli military forces. So more neighborhoods getting shelled. The Palestinian Hamas movement said on Monday that Israel must halt its Gaza offensive and withdraw from the enclave before more captives are freed. Israel says it will fight until Hamas is eradicated. More than 100 Israeli captives remain in Hamas custody. More than 100 Israeli captives remain in Hamas custody. This idea that we're going to fight until Hamas is destroyed it's quixotic at best. I think it might just be a disingenuousness, I think it might be a pretext for ethnic cleansing. In other words, there's tens of thousands of Hamas fighters. Y'all not destroying all of Hamas. You would destroy all the region before you did that. And the world's not going to let that happen. The world shouldn't let that happen. And so at some point, we're going to have to get to a place of peace. We're going to have to get to a ceasefire. And then after we get to ceasefire, then we can work toward a long-standing peace, because peace requires justice. And we can get there. We can get to a political solution, but it has to start with the gunfire stopping. That's where we are right now. Hamas fired its first set of rockets for weeks into Israeli cities, proving it still had the capability to launch them after nearly 4 months of war. That's an important signal to Israel as well. We can still fight back. We all know Hamas rockets don't have the custom rocket. They don't have the precision or the technology and precision. So I don't know how much confidence that's going to inspire in the people. But it's an interesting strategy. That's all I'll say. So I was trying to get a quick yawn in. It's midnight over here almost. U.S. officials said Monday that forces may have mistaken an enemy drone for an American one and let it pass unchallenged into a desert base in Jordan, where it killed 3 soldiers and wounded dozens more. It's an interesting admission. I'll just say that. On Saturday, Israeli forces showed foreign journalists an area in Beni Suhaila in the southern Gaza city of Khan Yunis, where the forces had destroyed a mosque and the Islamic cemetery. And now I'm going to just give you a couple quick diplomatic updates, and I'll leave you all alone. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said yesterday that the U.S. did not want a wider war with Iran or in the region, quote, but we got to do what we have to do. So again, the U.S. is framing the response as, look, Iran is forcing our hand. They challenged us in Syria. They had killed us and our folk. They're funding Hezbollah. They are training Hamas in Gaza. They're, emboldening the Houthis in the Red Sea. They're basically saying Iran is the puppeteer here. And as long as they're moving the way they do, they leave us no choice but to fight back through proxy. And many of us are afraid that it eventually won't even be a proxy war. That's a very scary proposition, given the fact that we're not just talking about diplomacy. We're not just talking about war of words. We're not even just talking about bombs and soldiers. We're also talking about nuclear weapons. This is something that is very, very scary. All right, a couple more quick ones. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Monday that the situation in the Middle East is more dangerous than it has been since at least 1973. Keep in mind, 1973, the reference alludes to both the October War, right, the Yom Kippur War, where we saw Anwar Sadat in Egypt mount a fairly aggressive and certainly the most successful resistance to Israeli military aggression since the Suez Crisis of '56. So it's an interesting and complicated and messy web. We saw an oil embargo. We saw gas prices skyrocket. We saw the Saudi empire shift in its authority and global power. A lot of moving parts there. The reason why I'm saying that all that is because right now, as Blinken is talking about it, we're seeing regional conflict. We're seeing wide scale challenges. We're seeing conflicts in multiple places. Again, northern Israeli border, the southern Lebanon border. We see Syria. We see Jordan. We see all the places. We see Saudi having sustained its hegemony, its domination in the region. We see oil prices mattering because it's an election year, right? We see the U.S.'s role as the kind of dominant state and Israel as a client state in the Middle East as being a complicated one, but certainly it's at this point a long-standing one. And all of this is part of the mix, and it's something we got to think about. Amid rising hunger in Gaza, the U.S. and several other countries have suspended funding to UN humanitarian agency UNRWA after Israel accused a dozen employees of involvement in the October 7th attacks. The UN, which is investigating the case, calls it collective punishment. The UN is right. If you think that 12 Palestinians did something awful, you don't punish 6 million of them. And the allegations against these employees or former employees was not structural. It wasn't like, oh yeah, they're the front men for an UNRWA criminal enterprise that is blah 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 blah. It sounds like just 12 people who are moving in a way that we don't like and that we think is illegal. We don't defund police when rogue cops beat us. We didn't defund Israel when they created an apartheid state. I mean, like, this idea that we're going to defund and run away from you the moment we have a allegation and a question speaks to some contradictions in how we move as a nation, but also some other politics at play as well. All right, family, that's the update for today. I want to thank you all for watching. It's been a pleasure talking to y'all as always. Make sure you hit the like button so then YouTube algorithms know that you're rocking with us. Hit the subscribe button if you're not a part of the channel. I'd love to have you as part of the channel in terms of getting daily updates, and even hit that little bell so you can get notifications whenever I put out new content. And of course, if you're so inclined, you can join the channel. Hit that join button, even if it's just as a bronze member, even if it's $3.99, it doesn't matter to me. It's important to have you as part of the family. I don't care what you spend or don't spend. We're here for the knowledge. We're here for the information. We're here to grow together, and that's all I ask from each and every one of you. Is to just rock with us, watch the videos, be part of the conversation, ask tough questions, challenge mainstream media. That's the beauty of all of this, man. We have an opportunity to do our own thing now, and we're going to take advantage of it. If you want to, you can also hit the Cash App button here. MLHTV, it's Cash App donations, $ MLHTV. You can make a direct cash donation. That helps us build a studio that we're trying to do. It helps us hire editors, producers, and just get more content out in the world to create more long form videos. We're going to do all of it. Your help is essential for that. So drop something in if you can. If you can't, that's all good too. Like I said, just hit the like button, just watch the videos, and just support the movement of liberation. Love y'all. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.